Yeah, so we got one last step, okay? So we have a goal for this week, okay? Last step, and we're introduced. Hi. Yay. You guys, we're just getting started. It's day one, right? No one's tired, right? No way. We just barely said hello, okay? So here we go. This week has to be about seduction. Seduction is the leitmotif of the week. Seduction is the core obligation of this week. Please don't leave yet. Got a couple more sentences. But it's big. Let's stay with this for a second. Okay, that's our third motif. So one was celebration, live the dream. I mean, after we set up, 2 was the 3 selves, and 3 is seduction. Okay? So anyone who leaves here unseduced. Now, James is saying, did I invite people to this? Is he going to say something that gets me out of this? Oh, he will. But it's a big word, okay? In the book of Psalms, for example, we have scripture on this, right? The infinite force of reality is the seducer. So let's stay close, though, for a second. 3 points. There's 2 kinds of seduction. There's holy seduction, and there's unholy seduction. Let's have a story of each. Anyone want to come forward? No. That's tomorrow. So let's stay for a second, okay? So unholy seduction means I seduce someone to break their appropriate boundary for the sake of my greed. Got that sentence, everyone? Right? As I seduce someone to break their appropriate boundary for the sake of my greed. Unholy seduction. Okay? Holy seduction is when I seduce someone or I seduce myself to break my boundary of contraction, my inappropriate boundary, for the sake of their or my own deepest need. Right? So holy seduction means, right, I seduce myself or I seduce someone else to break their contracted boundary, intellectual boundary, emotional boundary, aesthetic boundary, artistic boundary, and the list goes on. I'm not good at lists, but you get the idea, okay? That's a critical distinction. It's a critical distinction. Let me say it a little deeper. Let's take the distinction one level deeper. If reality is a reductive, materialist reality only, which it's not, and reality's but a tale told by an idiot, full of sounds and furies signifying nothing, as in Faulkner's existentialist novel, The Sound and the Fury. So if there's really nothing underneath, stay close, then alls we have is our artificial, socially constructed boundaries. We don't got anything else. So if anyone invades my boundary, that's who I am, right? I'm not more than that. I'm just a socially constructed boundary. That's all I am. There's nothing underneath. So if there's nothing underneath, there's nothing to be seduced to. Right? The whole notion of seduction is almost per se evil. Right? Because the only thing that actually exists is an artificial notion of the good, enshrined, right? I mean, it's very subtle, but it's very beautiful, enshrined in an artificial set of boundaries, which are ever-changing. But if reality actually is a love story, right? So my obligation is seduce thyself. Seduce thyself. Right? I've got to actually seduce myself. And to seduce myself means right, to actually transcend, to end the trance of my trauma, right, to end the trance of my contraction, and actually feel beneath into the expanded field, right? There's a great teacher who lived a few thousand years ago, whose name was Moses. And he had a student named Joshua, right? And Joshua was the least talented of the students, but became the successor. So my lineage teacher, who died a couple hundred years ago, which, as I've mentioned before, gives you a little more latitude in life, right? So he points out that Joshua becomes the successor because he was the one that trusted Moses to seduce him. So I want to invite us to seduce each other. Right? We're a unique self symphony. Seduce each other, meaning. Seduce each other to beauty, to depth, right? To outrageous embrace, right? To authenticity, right? To live the dream, right? This is a place to live the dream. This is a place where we get to look in each other's eyes and say, I love you madly, right? And it doesn't mean we're buying a U-Haul. It doesn't mean we're having sex. It means I love you madly. I love you madly. I'm ecstatic to be here with you, right? You're beautiful. You're stunning. Look at that yellow dress. And I'm not going to get sued, or maybe I will, right? But right? You follow, right? In other words, that we can be excited about each other. We can be ecstatic about each other. We can be delighted by each other. We can be delighted by each other's beauty, by each other's goodness, by each other's wisdom, right? By each other's sparkle in their eyes, the curve of your cheeks, the delight of your hair, right? Just like here we are. And we're excited. But to do that, we have to be willing to seduce each other, right? Meaning holy seduction, right? To actually give each other permission to let go of the trauma. You know, enlightenment is perhaps best summarized as the ability to bracket trauma, right? Right? So enlightenment is the ability to bracket trauma. Can I bracket trauma? This week we're bracketing trauma. It's not that it's not there. It doesn't need to be worked with. It's not that it's not. It's all real. But we're bracketing, right? We're going to live the dream, right? Imagine that there's not just a separate self. Imagine, as we've talked about so many times before, imagine there's a true self. Do you think you're going to get from separate self to true self without being seduced? Really? No chance. What do you think meditation is? It's seduction. Meditation's a form of seduction. Holy seduction. Right? Can I seduce myself beyond my separate self into my true self, right? I'm part of the field. And then can I seduce myself, and we'll get to this later in the week, beyond my true self into unique self? Then can I seduce myself beyond unique self into unique self in an evolutionary context, an evolutionary unique self? Can I seduce myself to play my instrument in the unique self symphony? Right? And so it's not know thyself, the Delphic oracle. It's seduce thyself. And the key to seduce thyself is, and I want to just throw out, if I can, a sentence as we close our introduction. Here's a big sentence, though. Take responsibility for your own arousal. It's a big sentence. Claire, Shahat, Mickey, James, myself, KK, anyone else teaching, KK, no one's responsible for your arousal. Right? We each take responsibility for our own arousal. And arousal is a structure of cosmos. Arousal itself is a first principle and first value of cosmos. Arousal is something that happens in reality. There's an arousal. There's an excitation in reality. As a new moment, right, is birthed. And that new moment holds something that the old moment didn't hold. That's called emergence. That's what emergence means. It means that, oh my God, a cell has something that a macromolecule doesn't have. There's an emergence. The macromolecule arouses, there's an intensification, and then something new emerges. So let this be a week of itaruta. Itaruta, the Aramaic texts say, right? Arousal. And in the 13th century book, the Zohar, the Book of Illumination, right, in at least 500 texts, arousal and awakening are used interchangeably. The core word in the Zohar is arouse yourself. And the Zohar intentionally blurs between all forms of arousal because the sexual model is Eros. Right? There's 12 billion years of Eros before sex. Right? And you can be completely aroused and completely celibate. But the sexual holds a model for what it looks like. And what it looks like is I'm not in my small self. I'm not in my contracted self. So if you want to find a model, find your best sexual moment, right? And that's your model for arousal. And then apply it in every other dimension of life, right? What would it look like to be that person, right, who screams the name of God? Right? Right? As above, so below, screaming the name of God. Right? And when I scream the name of God, what else do I scream? The name of the other person. Because I realize they're the same. Because I'm aroused. So that's what we want to do this week. We want to arouse each other to our greatness, to our goodness, to our truth, right? To our integrity. Right? And that is not about sexuality. It's about Eros. It's about the Eros that's at the core of everything. So if there's an epigram for the week, it's seduction. Holy seduction. Intellectual, emotional, aesthetic, moral, right? Moral seduction, right? Right? Ethos, existential seduction, right? And just the seduction to let ourselves love each other. And so this is the last thing. We close with this simple point. In this text called the Zohar, the book of radiance, so there's a section called the Idra Rabbah, which is the great gathering. It's the great gathering. There were 8 people at it. 8, right? 8 people at the great gathering. We're a little overbooked, right? COVID and all, right? 8 people, right? 8 people. And they become Amuda Ha'olam. They become the pillars of reality. They become the Unique Self Symphony. The Zohar is not written by one person. The Zohar is written by a band of outrageous lovers. They're called the Chavraya, right? In Aramaic, the companions. Isn't that beautiful? They're the companions. And they're never in a study hall. Right? They walk in the garden, they're by the lake. Sometimes they gather in a hall, then they walk out again. They're in the night, they're in the morning. They're the companions of radiance. So that's who we are this week. We're a band of outrageous lovers. And outrageous lovers means Homo Amor. It means the love intelligence of reality is actually moving through us. We get to be aroused by each other. Right? In a culture in which we're not allowed to be blown away by each other's radiance without it being somehow misappropriated. We get to be blown away by each other's beauty, by each other's goodness. We get to be delighted by each other. As we meet each other in the path, whatever your protocol is in terms of health, you can either bow or hug or whatever feels right to you, but find someone's eyes. Right? And it's between now, right, and tomorrow, there's just one simple, tender, right, instruction, which is find at least 7 people between now and breakfast tomorrow where you find their eyes, you stop for a second, and you let each other be blown away by each other. And if you miss all the afternoon sessions and all the morning sessions, right, and the music and everything else, and just do that, right, for real, oh my God, right, tears in my eyes. Like, oh my God, right? We're the band of outrageous lovers. We're the companions. We're the Unique Self Symphony, right? We're in the source code itself. The source code is in us. We're in terror, and we're trembling with joy, right? Cha.